Most people don't intentionally set out to destroy their own lives, but the road to ruin is often paved with tiny, almost imperceptible steps. There's a brutal, unspoken truth about married women that most men fail to see. It's this truth that makes them the easiest prey. Not because they're weak or lack morals, but because human nature is wired for temptation. No one wakes up one day and decides, I think I'll betray everything I've built. It happens in the smallest moments. The innocent conversations, the lingering glances, the way her heart beats just a little faster when she receives a text from someone who isn't her husband. Psychologists have studied this phenomenon for decades, calling it the slow erosion of boundaries. One step at a time, one thought at a time, until one day she looks in the mirror and no longer recognizes the person staring back at her. So, why are some married women so easy to lure in? And more importantly, how do they justify it to themselves? That's exactly what we're about to uncover. Let's begin. The unspoken void. Why some married women seek external attention. Helen Mirren once said, "The great marriages are partnerships. It can't be a great marriage without being a partnership." At its best, marriage is a bond that withstands time, trials, and temptations. But not all marriages remain as strong as they once were. Some women, despite having taken vows, find themselves drawn to attention outside their marriage. Most of the time, it's not about physical attraction alone, it's psychological. The biggest mistake people make is assuming these women are looking for an escape. In reality, many are simply searching for something they lost along the way. Human beings are wired for connection. Women, in particular, have a deep-rooted need for emotional intimacy, not just physical presence. In the early stages of marriage, this intimacy is strong. The late-night conversations, the stolen glances, the feeling of being seen, it's intoxicating. But over time, routine takes over. Life becomes predictable. Deep conversations turn into logistical discussions about grocery lists and household chores. Passion gives way to duty, and worst of all, she starts to feel invisible. This is where the danger begins. Dr. John Gottman, a renowned relationship psychologist, explains that the silent killer of relationships isn't conflict, it's indifference. When a woman no longer feels noticed by her husband, her subconscious mind starts seeking validation elsewhere, sometimes without her even realizing it. People will do anything to avoid loneliness, even if it means losing themselves in the process. Mitch Albom. A simple compliment from a stranger, a conversation with a man who actually listens, a moment where she feels interesting again. Suddenly, that tiny interaction feels like oxygen after years of suffocation. Marriage comes with responsibilities, predictability, and stability. But the downside of stability is that it often kills excitement. In psychology, this is called the coolidge effect, the idea that novelty triggers desire. People, both men and women, are drawn to the excitement of the unknown. If a woman has been married for years, if every day looks the same, if every interaction feels rehearsed, then the slightest spark of something new can feel electrifying. Not because she doesn't love her husband or because she's a bad person, but because she misses the thrill of feeling wanted. We are most alive when we are in love, but love isn't just about being together. It's about being chosen again and again. F. Scott Fitzgerald. When a woman feels pursued, when she feels like she has power over a man's desire, it reminds her of a version of herself she thought was long gone. The younger, confident version who felt effortlessly attractive. Even if she never intends to cross any lines, she might start walking closer to them because, in those fleeting moments, she feels alive again. Another overlooked reason why some married women become susceptible to external validation is social identity loss. After marriage, many women start to feel like they're no longer individuals. They become someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's caretaker. Their identity shifts from who I am to who I am to others. Before marriage, she was a mystery, an individual with dreams, interests, and passions. After marriage, she becomes defined by her roles: wife, mom, supporter, the one who keeps things together. While these roles are beautiful, they can also become restrictive. If a woman no longer feels like her own person, she might start seeking interactions that make her feel separate from her role. And sometimes that interaction comes in the form of another man. The justification game. The mind will always find a way to justify what the heart has already decided. Anonymous. No one wakes up one day and says, "I think I'll betray my marriage today." That's not how it works. When a married woman begins engaging in emotionally or physically risky behavior, it doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow, slippery process, one that's often justified in the deepest corners of her mind long before it manifests in real life. Guilt is an unbearable weight. If someone can convince themselves that what they're doing isn't really wrong, they no longer have to carry that weight. So how does this happen? How do married women rationalize crossing the line? At first, everything feels innocent. It's just a little attention. What's the harm? I'm just talking to him. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not like I'm cheating. I'm just enjoying the moment. The human brain is a master of self-deception. If something feels good but goes against one's moral values, the brain creates excuses to bridge the gap. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the tension that arises when our actions contradict our beliefs. When that tension becomes too much to bear, the mind bends reality to protect itself. The easiest person to fool is yourself. Richard Feynman. So, a woman who was once completely loyal starts playing mental games. She downplays her actions. It's just flirting. It's not like I'd actually do anything. She shifts the blame. If my husband paid more attention to me, I wouldn't need this. She compartmentalizes. This has nothing to do with my marriage. This is just something separate for me. But here's the kicker. The more she justifies, the further she'll go. For many married women, the first betrayal isn't physical, it's emotional. This is what makes it so dangerous. With physical cheating, the lines are clear. There's no gray area in kissing, sleeping with, or intimately touching another man. But an emotional affair? That's where things get blurry. Late-night texts, conversations that go deeper than they should, sharing personal struggles with another man instead of her husband. At first, she tells herself it's just emotional. There's no harm in talking. But emotional intimacy is powerful. When a woman shares her mind, her thoughts, and her emotions with a man, she's already started detaching from her husband. Cheating isn't always a physical act. The moment you start keeping secrets from your partner, you've already crossed the line. Unknown. And this is where the real danger lies. When emotions are deeply involved, physical boundaries start to break down.